to the brave new world of common sense. Just before we start, let's have a look at Keir Starmer and the various things he said about Donald Trump over the years.
Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Now, one of President Trump's campaign chiefs has branded the UK's next US ambassador as an absolute moron. Chris Lasavita reacted angrily after Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer announced Lord Peter Mandelson will take up the post in Washington.
Hello, yes, that's right. I'm with Suella Braverman now. Suella, what do you think Trump's inauguration means for the UK?
I think it means a huge amount. This is a real turning point for the Americans on secure borders, a sound economy, cutting inflation, an end to the woke diversity, inclusion, nonsense that's taken over their military and their public institutions. And from a UK perspective, we must be able to absorb some of this changing trend and culture that will be led by the Americans under President
Trump. There's a difference between being simply ignorant and being outright foolish. Keir Starmer, after being rejected and not invited to President Trump's inauguration, has now chosen Peter Mandelson as the UK ambassador to the US. It's worth noting that this is someone who openly criticized and attacked Trump directly. But before we delve into all of that, on January the 20th, 2025, Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary, strongly condemned Labour leader Keir Starmer for endangering Britain's relationship with the United States, especially concerning the incoming administration of President Donald Trump. She labeled Starmer's approach as foolish, emphasizing his previous hostility toward Trump. Braverman highlighted that Starmer and several members of his cabinet had opposed Trump's state visit in the past, which led to public disputes with figures such as David Lammy, who had been particularly vocal in his attacks on the former U.S. president. Braverman expressed frustration with Labour's leadership for now backpedaling and attempting to mend fences with Trump. Meanwhile, during the inauguration, Trump reiterated his strong stances, including affirming that there are only two genders and emphasizing border security. Many supported Braverman's critique, calling Starmer's actions a monumental blunder. They argued that Labour...
And what's your advice to Keir Starmer as he engages with the new Trump presidency?
Listen, my advice to Keir Starmer is to stop being an idiot because, listen, Keir Starmer and half of the cabinet voted against President Trump's state visit last time round. We've got so many of members of the cabinet, David Lammy notably, having carried out vitriolic and ridiculous personal attacks on Donald Trump. They're all now desperately trying to backtrack and they're all desperately trying to suck up to President Trump. You know, at best, they're going to be irrelevant. But at worst, they have done great harm to the UK's national interest. So they've got to grow up, stop playing petty student politics, and actually stand up for the UK, get a free trade agreement, work on ensuring our military and security agreements are robust, and learn the lessons of how Donald Trump is securing their border for a start.
His antagonism toward Trump had severely harmed Britain's ties with the US, and that the party was now scrambling to repair the damage. Some even praised Braverman's clarity and common sense, suggesting she had better judgment than most politicians in her party, with calls for her to join the Reform UK party. Others voiced their dissatisfaction with the current political leadership, yearning for someone who would prioritize British interests and stand firm. Much like Trump, the overarching sentiment among the public was that Starmer's mishandling of the situation had tarnished Britain's global reputation, while Braverman's remarks struck a chord with those frustrated with the status quo. On January the 20th, 2025, the political spotlight shone brightly during a discussion hosted by Jeremy Kyle and Isabel Oakeshott. The conversation focused on the strained relationship between the UK and the US, particularly in the wake of Trump's inauguration, and Labour's missteps under Starmer's leadership.
Absolute whopper of a news day, somehow combining the inauguration of Donald Trump with that sensational development in the Southport murder trial. Very unexpected that Axel Rudikabana pleaded guilty to pretty much everything, if not everything, that he was charged with. I must say that there will be a number of conspiracy theorists who wonder why it was that development took place on the same day as the inauguration, and whether the authorities perhaps had a hand in the choreography there. It is tremendously convenient for the Prime Minister as he faces a slew of allegations about a cover-up and catastrophic failures of the so-called Prevent programme, that all this is coming out on the day that Donald Trump is...
Well, let's just say very...
Braverman did not hold back in her criticism of Starmer's conduct, accusing him of undermining the US-UK alliance with his lack of diplomacy. Starmer, who had previously opposed Trump's state visit and made derogatory comments about him, was increasingly perceived as irrelevant on the global stage. Braverman lambasted his inability to keep up with Trump's strong influence on global politics, portraying him as out of touch. Many people criticized Starmer for failing to address major domestic concerns such as the inquiry into grooming gangs, a matter they believe Trump would have tackled head-on. Public discontent with Starmer's leadership grew, with some describing him as a liability to the nation. Trump's assertive approach to issues like immigration and law enforcement was seen as refreshing by UK citizens who longed for similar leadership at home. In summary, Trump's inauguration reignited support among
President Trump, I look forward to our special relationship maintaining itself for years to come. I said it as a joke. Alex Phillips went to the inauguration, Sir Keir Starmer didn't get invited. Liz Truss is at the inauguration. Donald Trump, Starmer didn't get invited. I think this man is, fresh from sending people to help Kamala Harris lose, that's going to get right under the Trump skin. I just think he's an inconsequential human being, increasingly day by day. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think he's pretty inconsequential on the world stage. So far, all his international efforts seem to have been blunders, if we look at the Chagos deal as the most high profile of those. And the Trump administration will, of course, pay lip service. They'll go through the motions. I don't think they're going to veto Labour's chosen one for the ambassadorial role, Peter Mandelson. I think that will probably go through. There have been some speculation that Trump may say no to that. But I don't think that either Donald Trump or his inner circle have any time or respect for Keir Starmer. He embodies everything that they hate.
Among those dissatisfied with Britain's current leadership, sparking calls for a change in direction toward firm and decisive governance. Adding fuel to the fire, on January the 4th, 2025, both Donald Trump and Elon Musk publicly criticized Starmer's leadership. Trump condemned Starmer's energy policies, particularly his decision to increase windfall taxes on North Sea oil and gas, warning that the UK's refusal to embrace fracking and reduce energy costs would harm the economy. Meanwhile, Elon Musk criticized Starmer's inaction on the grooming gangs scandal, an issue that has deeply angered the British public. Trump's critiques resonated widely, as citizens voiced their dissatisfaction with Starmer's handling of critical national issues. Many pointed out that Starmer's energy policies, as well as his failure to address problems like immigration and child safety, were contributing to the country's economic and social struggles. Although Starmer promised tougher measures in the future, including cracking down on immigration and deporting criminals, critics argued that he had already squandered months in office without delivering results. Public trust in Starmer's leadership continued to erode, with growing calls for his resignation. People accused him of misleading the nation and allowing key issues to go unresolved. Outrage over the government's inability to tackle the grooming gangs issue was particularly strong, with many blaming Starmer for failing to act decisively. Calls for accountability and inquiries into Starmer's knowledge of these cases and his role in mishandling them were widespread. The public viewed his inaction as emblematic of broader governmental failings, further intensifying frustration with his leadership.